Previously in X-Men, having barely escaped a subterranean Antarctic death at the hands of Magneto, or Magneto, leading a prehistoric
subterranean Antarctic death.
Whoa!
At the hands of Magneto.
I'm hearing my own thing. Sorry,
yeah,
dude.
like 5 seconds afterwards. What's happening there?
I had it open. I'm going to start again. Previously in X-Men, having barely escaped a subterranean Antarctic death at the hands of Magneto, leading to a prehistoric adventure in the savage land, the Uncanny X-Men are currently braving the South Pacific Seas to return to civilization. Cyclops, Wolverine, and company are believed dead by their closest allies, who in turn seek respite from their grief. I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are a group of 7 comics coming live to you from Southern Ontario, from cities such as Richmond Hill and Guelph.
Guelph and Richmond Hill.
That's very exciting.
The 2 best cities in Southwestern Ontario.
Sure. How are you, my friend?
Great. I'm great. I'm excited about this issue. I read it. I enjoyed it. I wrote down notes. I'm good. Hey, playoffs started, as you're wearing. Now, is that a Sundin?
This
based
is
on the era of the hockey sweater?
My first time ever wearing this hockey sweater. Because I am one of those suckers, whatever. I'm fortunate souls that has so many Leaf jerseys. He hasn't even worn them all yet. So this is a Sundin from that era.
I was wearing the blue version of that last night.
That's what I saw.
With the TLM.
You sent me a picture.
Yeah.
By the way, next time put pants on. But anyway, that inspired me as I was going through my closet of Leaf jerseys. Like, which one do I want to wear tonight? And I said, I've never worn this one. It's way too big, but there is a fighting strap in the back. So all of you out there, just watch yourselves, all right? I'm in a mood.
Don't get this guy, don't do cross-check him once, but not 3 times.
And I don't know on the hands. These are the money makers. So,
and I see that Trevor's joined us, and he is Groot.
How you doing, man? Nice to see you, Trevor.
Thank you for joining us.
Hope you are well. For this issue, we're doing X-Men 118 or Classic X-Men 24, depending on your point of view. And what is this, episode 27 for us?
Oh my goodness, 27.
It's insane. A great Leaf number, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Let's do, good.
John Cordick, more 27.
Did Cordick wear 27?
Yeah, Cordick wore 27. Besides 2 Hall of Famers, Daryl Sittler and Frank Mahovlich.
Of course.
Just a hockey deep dive for 1 sec. Our beloved Maple Leafs used to not retire numbers.
That's right.
They used to, quote unquote, honor them, or just actually leave them where players would wear them across the various generations. And growing up, guys had access to whatever number they wanted, other than 5 and 6, which were 2 players that died while wearing Leaf uniforms.
That's right.
Not literally dying while on the ice, but one
was close.
One was close, and one was in the summer break after winning the Stanley Cup.
That's right.
Shouts to Bill Morico and Ace Bailey. But anyway, so number 27, 2 great Leafs wore the number. And then, in the later 80s, a definitely not ready for NHL in terms of mental health. John Cordick played as a Maple Leaf and was a disaster.
Do you remember who they traded John Cordick for?
Russ Courtnall. It was a big deal. Anyway.
Huge deal.
I'm reading Trevor's comments here. Your country is becoming Gilead?
Yeah,
What is Gilead?
Gilead is the country from The Handmaid's Tale.
That's what I thought it was. I'm reading, I'm like, oh, is this a Handmaid's Tale reference?
It is.
Without getting too political, Trevor, we both recognize that from the distance that we have from the States. And these are regular conversations, the changing circumstances in the States, regular conversations at my dinner table. And they concern us too. And I feel comfortable speaking for Chris in we are aligned with people. How do I even say this stuff? Man, oh man. Yeah, we
it's fucked.
Yeah.
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 But you're right. This is X-Men.
This is X-Men. So onward. Good point. But my heart is in many places at this moment with people who need it. So there you go. The X-Men. Really interesting issue. I was strangely excited because, I actually skipped over these issues a lot as a kid.
Okay.
I didn't dwell on them. So getting a chance to kind of like read, not new, but like forgotten classic X-Men was really exciting for me. And a couple things really stood out right away. I didn't look at the credits. I just dove in when I was reading it. And my first thought was like, it looks like Byrne and Austin are not doing a great job compared to normal. And I didn't realize till after I read it why that was. Did you bump up against the art at all in this one?
Yeah, well, there's that, and it's guest inker. And I thought, that was interesting.
So I did some research, and there is not an explanation as to why Terry Austin did not ink this issue. I think we can just extrapolate a pretty simple one, which is the guy was busy. Maybe he needed a vacation, whatever it was.
Sure.
Claremont and Byrne are working several titles in this era. Before this, before this month, they're doing Power Man. As Power Man reaches issue 50, it becomes Power Man and Iron Fist around January, and this is around March. So they're doing that. They're doing Marvel Team Up. They were doing Iron Fist before as well. So they're doing a whole bunch of issues from different series, and different inkers are working in different books. And Austin is an in-demand guy at this point. Everyone recognizes how talented he is. And if he's getting money 1 month working somewhere else, or even this might be a 2-week period where he's unavailable, it could be something as simple as his kid had COVID and he had to stay home. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of reasons a freelancer would not be able to fulfill those kind of duties. But yes, the big note is that it is not Terry Austin on inks. It is still John Byrne on pencils, but Rick Villamonte is the guest inker, and he's a really good inker. Just doesn't compare to Terry Austin.
Sure,
Terry Austin is an exceptionally good inker, like so focused and so fine with the pen that anyone but him, it's going to feel like a step backwards.
Yeah.
So there are a couple occasions where the art actually distracted me while I'm reading because it didn't communicate the things I needed it to do. And we'll talk about those things as we get there. But anyway.
And the cover, it's another Cockrum cover.
Let's get there, man. Yeah, Cockrum is on the book as the cover artist a lot of the time in this period, even though he's on to another series. He's not doing X-Men anymore. He's still doing covers. And I've commented before how happy I am that they've worked out these issues with the cover and the logo and like getting it in front of everything. It looks good every time. Cockrum on art, look who he chooses to omit.
Good point.
Right? Contrast that with
and considering the content of this book.
Right. Okay. Well, which
we'll get into.
But like Sunfire being the focal point, sure. He's the guest feature, within the book, essentially, and that's a big part of the plot. Is that Sunfire's there, although he doesn't play he doesn't play the largest role. But just to quickly contrast this, if you don't mind, let me get rid of that
extra cam.
With the extra cam, and you see, pardon the glare, front and center is Wolverine.
Yeah.
Right?
That, eh? What a difference.
It's just 10 years later, they're like, Wolverine sells books.
Right.
This is Kerry Gamble on the cover. I think it's a pretty good one. I like the Wolverine pose a lot. Can you see my cursor or not at all? No?
No.
The Wolverine's left leg.
Yes.
If you look at the way it's going back, there is a yellow color underneath his knee.
Yes.
So it's like part of the explosion, but maybe it's a misread on the eyes of the colorist.
Sure.
But it should have been green or at least the red of the explosion. Truthfully,
sure.
Like Mike Mignola school would say, almost black that left leg out, or heavy it in black to push it behind him, because it reads a little weird, especially in front of Cyclops's yellow boots and blue.
Kind of gangly pose there.
But I do like the pose a lot. He's like coming to cover up his buddy, Why aren't the other X-Men like Cyclops should be shooting? And
Because Cyclops wants to watch Wolverine get beat up.
yeah, and those Mandroid armors look so they look ridiculous.
They're really of that. Yeah, you're right. Just silly. Like
Just
silly.
pull on those cables, man. Like who walks
Yeah.
around with all these cables behind them? Yeah, it looks ridiculous, and yeah, I don't like the look of them at all. But that's
The Mandroids.
the Mandroid. But that's yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That's my taste, you know. I'm not a big fan. So
Do you know
anyway,
what I thought when I first saw this cover? Because I don't tend to read the book until a couple days before. I'm like, well, look who's back. Our good old quitter Sunfire.
yeah,
Who likes to join the X-Men and then quit the X-Men.
Jerome is he was commenting, our friend, Canadian
What's he?
cartoonist Jerome Cabanatan was like, look who wants a team now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is kind of the case, but until you read it and you realize that he doesn't want them there.
Oh, he doesn't want to.
So do you want to
Yeah,
get into
let's
this?
get in here.
All right, I'm gonna solo this view so we don't have to look at us anymore. Boom, and there's that stupid Spider-Man toy again.
Here it is.
Right away,
It's clearly the thing they're trying to push. This is like three or four comics in a row. It's been on the opening cover.
yes, Remco is shelling out for some major
Doubling down.
I love a couple things here right away with this cover, or sorry, this splash page. I love that the majority of the men on the team are dressed ready for the group of 7.
Yeah, a little baggy, but sure.
Yeah, a little baggy, but that's
baggy.
Byrne wants to draw. Byrne wants to show off that he can draw drapery.
Yeah.
Whereas the artist of Group of 7 comics does not want to show off that particular skill. He wants to streamline and keep it showing.
They're lean machines.
Yes.
The Group of 7.
Yes, definitely. And then I also love that this is, I think, our first time for like of the next 50 years of seeing Wolverine in a tank top. He's in the undershirt.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. Is this like the first? Is this like if I didn't know this was from 1979?
Right.
That to me is the Wolverine of the modern era. Modern era being our era currently.
Yes, it definitely is one of the key.
One of the right, yeah, the hair coming out, the tank top.
Yeah, like if you have 5 different outfits for this character, like Malibu, Barbie, or whatever, like tank top Logan is, or wife beater Logan, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go with tank top or undershirt Logan is definitely an iconic one, and so much so that I have an action figure of this.
I was going to say, isn't there a legend?
There's a Marvel Legends of him. Yeah, there's one in the white and one in the black.
Right.
And I have both.
There you go.
And the black one comes with a cowboy hat.
Right. I've seen that.
Yes.
I've seen that one.
The white one came with a motorcycle.
It came with a motorcycle?
Yeah. Cool. It's a nice motorcycle. But anyway, crazy that like here we go. It's another one of those times where now that Byrne's on the book, we're getting big time Wolverine stuff that stays with readers forever. Miscolor on his sideburns, right?
Sure.
Doing that blue hair, and then they stop the blue hair on the face. Looks kind of weird.
And he still hasn't figured out that Widow's Peak hair piece thing yet.
Yeah, it's coming down way too low, but that's a carryover from
Count Floyd
and Dave Cockrum, and they work it out eventually. But yeah, there it is. So the X-Men are seeing there's something horrific across the sea. And
yeah, that's a great pre-page turner. Just like
yes,
the where their sights are set and where their focus is, and you have to turn the page. And they even got the little lines around the eyes, like the intensity.
Yeah, it's like them blinking really big,
blinking heavily. So yes. No, it's a great setup.
It is. This is like an official Wolverine costume. I agree, and that to me is like a running trend in this issue is that there are so many iconic Wolverine things.
Oh yeah.
Where again, like now that Byrne is there, it's
getting
iconic. So here's one of my first bumps against this issue. So you can see right away, like the faces. Belafonte does not tighten those faces the way that Austin does. Peter just doesn't look like it's a John Byrne drawing anymore, you know?
Mhm.
But the other side of it is they say that they are 10 kilometers from shore.
I wrote that down too.
I have been that far from shore, and that is not 10 kilometers.
That is not 10.
That is 1 kilometer.
That is one. That maybe that's a typo.
I'm thinking Chris Claremont, American, does not know his kilometers.
I think you might be right.
This drawing, although obviously it's better than I can do, of course, it does not sell me on the scope of the city or the scope of the disaster, especially since those airplanes, those jets are going straight across, which means that you don't get a sense of depth from the jets. Imagine if they were circling. Like, if this is in the hands of Mobius would have just, done an unbelievable one. But him, like Frank Quietly, these guys have a way of drawing scope and scale like no one else. And the city would have roundness to it. And you'd see airplanes on either side of the inferno circling as opposed to going straight across. And again, both those guys are much slower, and Byrne is on a deadline. And maybe this is one of those rush issues, which might explain why Austin's not available. Obviously, he gets a pass, but that's like my first thing is like, oh, he did not capture the scale of this scene. My second thought about it from an art point of view is they talk about they can feel the heat from there. I can't tell that from the art. I can't tell from the art that it's even that bright. Like, you want to show that the city's on fire? Get me some yellow and some maybe white. Don't put white on the characters. Put the white in the city and cast them in shadow. We're behind these characters. They should be dark. They should be in silhouette, and the scene in front of them should be a light. And that would generate heat and the intensity that I'm looking for when I'm seeing this. But again, I'm gonna just give it a pass because I know it's monthly comics in the 1970s.
Yeah, that's a good point, Trevor. Take off. Oh, I can feel the heat. It says hot as an open blast furnace. You are wearing also incredibly heavy naval sweaters.
Definitely. So I'm sorry to be picky about those things, but I've never really read an X-Men comic where art and storytelling don't go together to me to this degree. But already there are things I'm like, oh,
well, that's gonna stand out, right?
Yes.
It's gonna be incongruous, and you're gonna wonder why. And you go, oh, okay, well, maybe it's a month that other things are going on. They got some guest people. There's a few other things happening. So yeah, it's actually when you have that creative team working rather seamlessly, and when it doesn't happen, it's fairly noticeable.
Sure.
Yeah.
At the same time, maybe there was a directive to back off on how intense the destruction in Japan was.
Possibly.
Keeping in mind it's 1979.
It's
35 years after the Americans dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan. Like, maybe they don't want to make it look like a bomb is going off in the city. Like, maybe there's
too destructive.
A bit of a lighter touch. Maybe I'm reading into it. I do not know. Byrne can definitely. Trevor's saying, Byrne can nail his deadlines. Byrne can nail this, but yeah, deadlines. It's possible even that this is. Yeah, one of those times. Who knows? We'll never really know if there's anything more to it. But I'm just comparing now the coloring on the version that I have and the version that you have. So they want to get ashore. Captain Hama doesn't want to do it. He's like, listen, I can't do it. I got to go help with evacuating refugees, and I can't take you in. And nice moment here where Nightcrawler has to flex, right? Cyclops is like, okay, let's go. And there's this sort of, exposition that Nightcrawler, after working for 6 weeks, on this, which comes up a few minutes later, I think the 6-week time period, after working and training on this ship while they're on their journey from the Antarctic, they've all, especially Nightcrawler has powered up. He's leveled up.
Powered up, yeah.
And he can do this 10-kilometer/1 kilometer teleport, where in the past he would have had to do several. That was pretty cool. I'm barely winded. And if she can see him from that distance, that's cool. All right.
But I like that panel where, that fourth one, because Cyclops, she's like, we're good. I can see Nightcrawler. And Cyclops, are you sure, Storm? And she's like, she diplomatically answers, if I were not, I wouldn't have kept. But she's like, step the down, Cyclops.
Yeah, totally.
Do not come on, like.
And she's been through a lot in the last,
Yeah.
10 issues, and is maybe more damaged, but also more confident simultaneously than ever in her life. Trevor saying, yeah, the inking does not do justice to Byrne's work.
No.
It's weird for us to feel like it's going backwards for an issue, but I agree 100%.
I
think that's the
It's happened
consensus.
occasionally in this run, though, where we've come across an issue and gone, "Oh, this looks like a step back to some degree."
Or those two fill-in issues, I think, are
Yeah.
the two that come up, right?
Yeah.
So the X-Men go ashore. Banshee is carrying two of them, and Storm is carrying Colossus. And when they arrive and they're getting changed, the Banshee is throwing his sweater back on because they're covering up that they're the X-Men, which is cool.
Mhm.
And there's this really subtle thing where Storm is using her powers, and I'm just going to say, unstable molecules in that bottom panel on page 6. And she is like fusing her cape into a cloak. It's like a raincoat almost. There's sleeves.
Poncho almost.
A poncho, thank you. Like, it's like this mental thing where you can just change your costume around using your powers, I guess. And I buy it. I have no issue with that. I think that's kind of fun. But there you go. I didn't
notice that. That's cool.
So Cyclops says, hey, we need to go to Shiro Yoshida's ancestral manor. This is, we're going to go there. We are supposed to know that this, of course, is that Shiro is Sunfire. And he says, without Sunfire's help, we don't go home. So they're looking for their ally. We've last seen Shiro in, I think, Giant Size X-Men #1.
No, he comes back. Come back a couple again, but
remind me when.
Is it the next issue? Is the next issue isn't Xavier go, or is it a flashback scene with him trying to recruit Shiro? I thought Shiro shows up one more time and then leaves again, which is why it's funny that he
maybe in that first issue after, like 90,
maybe
94. We'll have to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So we haven't seen him in a long time. It's been a few years, and he is not the most likable guy. That's for sure. You wonder. Trevor says, "I wonder if Claremont meant to make Scott such an unlikable character." I don't know. He really is no one's favorite based on his personality. It is such a cool power set to think that there is a man of action who is completely brave, who has eye beams. Like that's in itself is really cool. But he's never been a character I've enjoyed.
And certainly not on this run as it is. And I wonder if, Trevor raises a good point. Do you make one of the characters unlikable, even though they are a hero, so that you can actually make the other characters more likable, so that you're, like he acts as somewhat of a foil, even though he's on the team, because he's not a villain, but he acts in that role so that we can watch and enjoy and become a fan of Wolverine, for example, more than Cyclops.
I think that each of the characters in typical Marvel fashion have a little bit of pathos.
Yeah,
and Scott's is the burden. Just the weight of being a not career superhero, but it being for his entire adult and most of his teenage life having to carry the burden of being a field leader. And now just the burden of like losing Jean and having these new recruits and they're on the other side of the world and all that stuff. So I think that's all he's looking at. But it doesn't seem like he, meaning Claremont, has any fun with Cyclops. Kurt, there's fun in writing Kurt. There's fun in writing Storm. There's some like a little bit of passion in writing Storm. There's passion in Peter. There's passion in Jean Grey, the revamped Jean Grey. But there's no real love, it seems like, in playfulness, like in writing Cyclops.
And although graphically they are represented to be likely around the same age, except we come to understand Wolverine is probably older or is older. It's also the adult versus the kids a little bit, right? Like, even though Storm and Nightcrawler and Colossus are not kids at all, there's still that kind of you're at the kids' table, kind of approach.
Nightcrawler is young in the sense that he's so playful.
Well, right.
And then Peter and Aurora both are young in the sense that they have the naivete about the world. They're not worldly yet. and they're kind of pure of heart, but
Mhm.
both are completely, committed to taking responsibility for themselves like an adult. So they can walk that line between being somewhere between 20 and 30, and
Right.
it doesn't seem inconsistent. Where Wolverine, obviously, we didn't know how to read him at first. It was sort of blank. And as the more we get to see him, the older and older he becomes.
Right.
Which is, one of the things I absolutely love about the character. So they're now, walking through this city that's on fire, and there's smoke everywhere. But again, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I find even like the color choices on these 2 pages are either kind of too bland or
Maybe.
not evocative enough.
The one where they're, sitting in, who is it on the bench? Is that Peter? Colossus is sitting on a bench.
Yes.
And they're overlooking sort of this burning city, but there's nothing there. I get the idea of just the red being sort of that red air, but they needed maybe something in the background to give me a sense that there's a city not too far off, but there just isn't any smoke in any of these panels.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the one where it's Storm at the top in the middle of page 7, where I think, again, this guy does not know how to ink burn. So Byrne might have used the side of a pencil, which I've seen him do many times.
Right.
And it might have been something that Austin could ink smoothly, but it isn't working here. Anyway, I don't get the sense that there's a city on fire and that there are people suffering and there's smoke.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening in the text. It's happening in the writer stage, which is after the art. It's not showing up in the artwork, which is, again, minor, and you read through it and you move on because it's not a big deal. So the X-Men are, they're getting ready. They've gone a dozen miles. They've gone around the city, right? I mean, it's,
yeah. Again, I don't know if he might just have his distances mixed up here.
Possibly. So she talked about, Storm mentions about this reminds her of what a missionary told her about hell, like the Christian version of hell that she's heard. And she talks about seeing, a child's face as they wander the streets, like reminding her of Cairo from her own childhood, and like seeing, thinking that's what she once looked like, wandering the streets of Cairo after Mama and Papa were killed. I read this, I'm like, you call your parents Mama and Papa? I didn't expect that.
Didn't expect that.
I didn't. It feels too. I don't know.
Christian Andersen.
Maybe. Do you remember on The Simpsons when they go to see the self-help guru?
Yes. Dr. Marvin Monroe?
No. I don't think it's
Brad.
Brad. Bart goes up and, what's your name? Rudiger?
Yeah. Little Rudiger here.
Little Rudiger. And they ask where he's like, are your parents here? Like, Mama, Papa, where are you?
That's
like
right.
The way he speaks so sweetly to try and get the parents to be involved. So when Storm says Mama and Papa, it's just a different. I'm not expecting that language out of that version of mother and father out of her. I'm not sure why. She speaks very formally most of the time, and I don't know what she would have called her parents. This one just didn't work on me. I didn't believe it. Anyway,
Brad Goodman is the character's name. It's
be
Albert
like
Brooks
Roy.
doing Brad Goodman. If we could all be more like Little Rudiger here.
All right, so
Simpsons, right?
I love it. I just swallowed too much smoke, but I don't believe it. Again, I don't believe that they've been through smoke, so it was a little weird. I really do love that Wolverine catches a piece of paper. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So there's paper going by. Again, you could lean into that harder, John Byrne, as a cartoonist. Like really have a few more sheets, and the colorist is doing no good with this because having everything colored in that like mix of orange and yellow, a yellow orange, it doesn't make Wolverine or the sheets of paper stand out. But they're blowing past him, and he snaps his hand and catches one. And again, Frank quietly would have killed this panel. He would have just knocked it out of the park. Something so simple, but a one color difference to make Wolverine stand out a little bit or push other characters back would have done that. And Wolverine right away, paper says most everyone was evacuated. What? Why? Early warning of a big quake. An earthquake without pre or aftershocks? That doesn't make any sense. Look, bub, all I know is what I read in the papers. You read Japanese? Yup. I didn't know. You never asked.
You never asked.
Yeah, you want. Sure. Another layer to Wolverine. Okay, this guy's talked about being in this area of the world in the last issue, crossing these seas. He's been there in a different season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now he reads Japanese. Like, okay, this is incredible. Anyway.
He is, like all Canadians.
Can you go back to that ad for a second for the Micronauts?
Yeah, sure.
I thought there was a Micronauts ad. Maybe that was before. I missed it. Don't worry about it.
It was before, but I do want to point out, now seeing the hands of Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, and of course having Shang-Chi enter the MCU in the past a little bit. That's a kind of a funny little.
Well, all these characters have been in Marvel movies.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, he was. I know that. But I guess just being that it looks at this point is Shang-Chi like a newer character.
Yeah, well, he's been around for the bulk of the 70s. There's been the whole craze with Bruce Lee.
Yep.
Impacted, every area in pop culture.
Sure.
So yeah, they're the hands of Shang-Chi. Yep. Crazy. I mean, I recognize, by the way, that Nova, this character, Richard Rider as Nova, has not been in the MCU, but Nova broadly has been in the MCU.
Yeah. Exactly.
But Marvel has, of course. Daredevil made his appearance finally.
Yeah.
Banner for sure. And then Shang-Chi. There you go. Lots of fun. So we get... Okay, yeah. My mistake. Next time I'll know better. Sure. So the hint that, of course, this is it's man-made, or it's caused by a villain of some kind or a mystery. And we got to get to the professor. We've been out of touch far too long. Everyone's just standing around. It's kind of a boring one. But right away, the scene shifts to Xavier and Lilandra, who are flying away on their Dave Cockrum-designed weird insect ship, a Shi'ar starship, leaving Earth's orbit.
The bug cruiser.
And Lilandra seems to have taken her official role back, right, as the Magistrix, the Princess Magistrix of the Shi'ar Empire. And she has her Terran consort. I would love to be a Terran consort, by the way. And here's another thing I bumped up against. Ready? There it is, Charles, in all its glory. Your world, Earth. Really? That's the view of its glory? Are we not gonna draw something beautiful? That's like the most boring drawing of Earth I've probably ever seen in a comic book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If this is supposed to be a beautiful view, then give it to us a little bit.
Right.
We don't need much else. You could have given us one panel of them talking while looking at this beautiful vista, and it could have filled up half that page. But instead, it's it's basically black.
It looks almost mechanical, like looking at some kind of robotic machine type thing.
Yes, it is the Death Star. And this is the first hover chair for Xavier. Holy cow. Good call.
Good call, Trevor.
Yeah. So was it right to leave Earth? She's like, yes.
Well, yes, it is, because now he has a hover chair. He'll never go back.
Be my consort. Just look bald. Be pretty.
We love. Make sweet love to me and everything will be fine.
That's all that matters. By the way, we live, we love. That's all that matters is now hanging on my wall in my foyer as you walk into my house. It says, Terran consorts. We live, we love. That's all that matters.
You actually started your own business, Terran Consorts Incorporated, to try and drum up business in case.
Don't get me started on my side business as a Terran consort. We get basically 3/4 of a page of Xavier's story. He's left Earth. Yeah. I didn't realize at this point how committed he was to not coming back. As we're going to see, he canceled the phone service.
He canceled the phone service. That's right. He called AT&T and canceled it.
All right. I'm changing the view here. You ready?
Yes.
It's going to be intense. Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
See this? We get an additional page from Chris Claremont and Kieran Dwyer.
what's Gene up to?
Gene is in Greece.
Oh.
And this is really odd because this is connected to the backup story.
Okay.
But it's placed almost haphazardly, like just where it could work. And it ends so abruptly. So she's on this Greek Isle. She's at the police station. She's asking the police chief to help her because someone has stolen her bag, which I guess happens off screen.
Mm-hmm.
And she is doing telepathy so that she can speak Greek and reads his thoughts, not listening to his voice.
Okay.
And he hears it in Greek, not realizing that her mouth, like she just comments about those things. And he doesn't want to help her. And just as she's leaving, because he's not going to do anything to help her, she uses her powers to knock his chair back a little bit because he's leaning like a pig. And the TV says that the X-Men have been spotted in Japan, and it gets cut off. So she never gets to hear it. It's just this tease. And then she's like, oh, that felt good to knock him over. And then, did you watch Community?
First few seasons, yeah.
Do you remember a character named Todd?
Maybe.
There was a character named Todd that they were really hard on the show, and he eventually kind of goes nuts. But he has that size forehead and hair of this next character who enters the scene. And he's like, excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear that you're a person I can take advantage of. I'd very much like to help. And yeah, and
that's it.
And that's it. There you go. Trevor says, dude's got the forehead of the master. I thought the forehead was too big too. And if you check out Todd from Community, you will see.
Like the master. Oh, the master. No, isn't that the leader? Are you talking about like the Hulk villain?
I'm thinking he means the leader.
The leader from the Hulk villain?
Yeah. The master, another. And there's so many characters. So yeah, the next page is back to the regular. So there we go. X-Men doing their thing. It's just such an awkward thing. Yeah, he means the leader.
Leader, right?
So the X-Men are back at Shiro's compound, hiding, skulking, and the place is totally guarded. There's government limousines there. Guys with hardware at the Yoshida Ancestral Manor. Okay. So the X-Men decide that they need to put on their costumes because it's the closest thing they have to their bona fides. Well, how does he phrase it? Yeah, they have to establish. It's all we have to establish our bona fides, like that. This is who we actually are, our real identity. So we gotta strip everyone. And Colossus is like, I will tear through my clothes.
What if I do organic steel?
Yes. Storm whips up some cover and.
But see, is this the first time you've seen that as a device? Like, that's a cool thing. Let me just whip up some fog to cover our tracks.
That's awesome.
It's a cool power thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And yes, the Master was an Alpha Flight villain from, I'm going to say, I don't know.
Yes, he was. He's the one who, like, lives
3,
in
4,
that...
5 around there?
Like underground ship.
And it involves the Submariner and Invisible Woman. And Marina and Puck. Anyway. Yeah,
we'll get to the Alpha Flight when we do the Alpha Flight run, right? We're going to do that after this, right?
I'm totally into that. By the way, John Byrne is on to like the 5th kind of arc of his Elsewhen, X-Men Elsewhen series.
Oh, yeah.
And Alpha Flight is back.
What?
I know. I will get it. I'll make sure I get it, and somehow that gets. We're gonna have to.
We're gonna have to
at some point. But Byrne back on Alpha Flight in 2022, like insane. I might actually have to ink those ones. I don't know.
It's like it never left.
Mm-hmm.
I do like though that final panel here.
Oh yeah,
the black and the white. And so this is what you referred to at the beginning with like demonstrating heat.
Yeah,
I mean this is demonstrating blindness, but just that I think it works so well. I don't think we've seen it before. The straight up black and white and shadow, and I think it looks great.
Totally high contrast. Yes, it's
Yeah.
a great technique. Oh shit! Oh shit! Yeah, man. So I'm not sure. I've actually never gone to Burns' website to see it, but someone else posted that he's bringing Alpha back into the fifth book of the series, or I guess it's like a fifth trade. I've got the first two, and that was almost 2 years ago, maybe. And I was super keen, and I decided to do it as like gifts for friends. So I ordered a box of the first one, and I ordered, I think, 2 of the second. So I had one for me and 1 extra. And I was giving them gifts of, like, you know, I ordered maybe 10. So I had people in my comics circle that I could give these to. And they all came cropped too small. They all came cropped in, like, I don't even know what it, like, not digest size, but something in between.
There's something like that, yeah.
So they're all missing what I would call their the bleed. They're all missing the bleed, which was unfortunate. And the printer sent me a message saying that we cannot correct this because we are concerned that you are infringing on copyright. So we're refunding the money so that we're not infringing for money on copyright.
Okay.
So I couldn't get them fixed. I got refunded, and of course, I never sold any of them. So it was just giving them, I made 10 of them as gifts. So it was anyway. But I want to maybe find a different printer and do the next batch, because at least a couple, like, they're so cool to have these things. So, Trevor, if you, I guess, should I say this out loud? Trevor, I do not have the PDFs that are formatted for print. Hear me clearly. I do not have them. I don't have the PDFs for the first 2 trades. Okay? There you go.
Thank God you don't.
I do not have them. Okay, flip the page. Let's see what happens. Who's made this bright light?
It's so bright. It's the Americar.
Love it.
Captain America.
Oh, stop right there. Battlestar Galactica. Did you see that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, I had one of these things, but see that round flying saucer thing?
Yes.
That is the reason that Boba Fett's rocket doesn't fire. A kid choked on the rocket that fired from that.
From the Battlestar Galactica toy.
From that round one, that Cylon Raider. And because they choked on that rocket firing toy, Kenner recalled the production, or canceled the production of the rocket firing Boba Fett. Boom.
Wow.
Yeah, cool, huh?
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Kids, what are you going to do?
Choke and die, unfortunately. Sunfire. All right. Detour, you ready?
Okay. Oh, that looks pretty good.
It's a beautiful, beautiful action figure. Like, really, really good.
Nice.
Marvel Legends from maybe about 5 years ago. And it's one of the first in the series to have a joint here and here. These are known as butterfly joints. So he can, ready? Right? And he can go this way. Yeah.
Nice.
But the posing that you get with this butterfly joint, it's necessary. And, where Cyclops, for instance, does not have that joint.
No, but he looks good too, though.
He does look fine, but, having this body as one of the ones, because there's not any sculpting on the body.
Right.
Basically a nude, right? The belt is an extra piece, and the head is just, of course, is unique. But this body could get used for all sorts of figures, and eventually made its way to being some of the multiverse variants of Spider-Man.
Oh, really?
Sure, but it would have been a great Daredevil, but they were, again, using other bodies for that too. But this is one of the first that I was like, I looked at this and said, oh, no, that's like a really good level up from a standard buck they were using. But a really good figure. Comes with fire effects. I'm a fan.
That looks good. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good one. For sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, Sunfire's there. And he says, intruders, stand where you are, or face the wrath of the protector of Japan. The Lord of the Living Samurai, Sunfire. What does he mean he's the Lord of the Living Samurai?
Sunfire, it's us, you idiot.
I get that, he can be, declare himself or be deemed the protector of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about this, living samurai thing. And being the Lord of the Living Samurai.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Jason Lowe is here. To me, my ex-friend.
Sweet.
How are you, Jason? Thank you for joining us. Just as Sunfire has arrived on the scene to cause problems. Jason says he came home from work and now he's listening to us as he draws. You're going from work to work. And I hope you had a good day at work, and I hope you're drawing something X-related or something Star Wars related.
Well, it just got real, Jason, because Sunfire just showed up. And we all know when he shows up, he often just then leaves and quits. So we're really curious to see what happens next.
How many pages is he going to stay on the team? I'm here. I'm leaving. I'm here.
I don't need you.
Sunfire, it's me, Cyclops. I'm here with the X-Men. We come in peace. Dude, Sunfire can see. Like, it's odd. He ain't listening, bub.
But more importantly, there's someone else here who's more important to us.
You can see just from her body language, she's resisting pulling a gun.
Oh, Misty Knight has got a gun somewhere.
Well, she's wearing holster.
Right, holster.
It's
so
right
we don't
there.
see it, but
there's
it's like behind her back, and then it's she's packing.
I find it really neat that Burning Claremont, and this is mostly Claremont, is able to connect the books that he's writing.
Right.
And over the last couple of years, this guy, again, he's gone from, Power Man and Iron Fist separately together.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel team up. So we're getting, and of course, the Daughters of the Dragon are from that Iron Fist series, where Colleen Wing and Misty Knight are a detective agency duo in New York, and for some reason they're here in Japan. The reason, of course, being that Colleen Wing is cousins with Shiro, with Sunfire. I was looking up her origins as a kid. I did not read her as being anything other than an American.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize here her Japanese heritage is a huge part of the character's identity at this point in time.
Sure.
And I didn't understand that as a kid. You can even see in the coloring choices, they're coloring Shiro one way, coloring her another way, slightly different. And this is like a huge, interesting and problematic part of comics in the time period is skin color. You get like one kind of version of white. You get a color that's supposed to represent Asian people. You get a color that's supposed to represent Black people, and none of it's working. It was even way worse before. I mean, now we're at the 64 color, but in the 48, it's so much worse. But yeah, Colleen is an interesting one, and her mom's side is the one with the ancestry to Japanese, like to feudal Japan.
Okay.
That's how that one works. Yeah, so Misty's there, totally convenient and really, really weird. And this gets chalked up to like what you'd call, I guess, idiot plot or a plot idiot. Because remember in the last issue, who does Misty Knight see in the airport before she leaves?
Jean Grey, I believe.
Right. And so now here she's in Japan and she sees Jean Grey's boyfriend. And she doesn't mention to Jean Grey that she's going to Japan, which is fine. And she doesn't mention to Cyclops here that
she just
saw his girlfriend. So both of them are, kind of behaving a little odd by avoiding something incredibly relevant to their connection, their social connection. So Misty and Colleen are working some sort of case on behalf of the Japanese government. But I gotta say, I kind of love Misty.
She's, aside from Banshee, she's the breakthrough star of this show.
I like. I don't know. I like the way he draws her. In that on page 15, the phone cable. Oh, to those of you who are, Gen Z or too young, you don't know that phones used to not be wireless. So, 1979, phones needed a wire to hook up to the receiver, and the way that cable, that wire is running along in front of her, it accents a curve in her form very, very favorably to my young eyes. And no, I think she's a good character. Anyway, what are they explaining here? There's a team outside that's doing something mysterious. There's like an interlude outside in Nero Lane near Yoshida Manor.
Mm-hmm.
I get a sense that you can't really just drive a giant truck up near that house without being noticed. But anyway.
But he's got his hat down over his eyes. You can't notice that.
He does. And then there's talk. There's the Japanese Prime Minister is here. There's a comment, of course, from Scott that Wolverine's not available, so he needs an interpreter. He can't follow what's happening. It's all happening in Japanese, and he feels like an idiot or like a fool because they're speaking Japanese, and Cyclops can't follow along. And the argument is just basically a pissing contest between Colleen and Shiro Sunfire, who says it is his responsibility to protect all of Japan, essentially.
It's a heavy responsibility, Sunfire, on the entire country.
And he says, "Mind your place, woman." And oof, this is my place, Buster.
Buster.
We know what Buster means. Like you, I am daimyo, and samurai.
She's Boba Fett.
Well, it just means like a feudal lord.
I know.
Yeah. Unlike Crime Lord, which I think a lot of people read, including myself, read it as in Book of Boba Fett. It meant more like you're the crime lord of the area, but it just means, in this case, it just means feudal lord. Someone who then would, of course, be loyal to the shogun and then eventually to the emperor. Yeah, and she's samurai. Unlike you, I know my limitations. She says, like, let's do teamwork. And Cyclops is like, I'm going to find a phone. The heck with him. I'm going to go find a phone. And then Colleen thinks Cyclops is hunky.
That's right.
Look at that. Pity Missy says he's spoken for. Oh, boy. Anyway, we get a little Iron Fist cameo.
Yeah.
And they're a couple, which was different than what we're used to if you're thinking about the TV shows.
Sure.
Being, Iron Fist and Defenders, where he's with Colleen, not with Misty. Anyway, they miss each other. He gets his one panel because he's sitting around wearing his outfit, as one does at home.
He's working out. He's got a pommel horse there, right?
It's all yours, Scott. Thanks. What do I say? Professor, Jean and Hank are dead. I still can't believe it. And why don't I feel anything for Jean? My God, I loved her. Again, I'm emotionally numb. I don't know why.
He's really put himself in the ringer on that one.
They keep reminding. Claremont keeps reminding us that Cyclops is not feeling normal about Jean's death, which I think is supposed to be him on some level. He knows that she's not gone, so he's not mourning her. I think that's how I read it. Is that how you read it too?
Something. I don't know. They keep bringing it back up, so I'm assuming it's going to lead to something.
Maybe it's because John Byrne refuses to draw him crying. so
Maybe.
Every time Claremont thinks he's going to get a chance to write some emotional dialogue or internal monologuing for Cyclops, Byrne gets ahead of it and doesn't draw it.
He had that moment where he was staring at his reflection in the water in the Savage.
But that was just to foreshadow the connection with Corsair. The next page, and I think
here we go.
I think we need to do this part.
Well, here's where it gets interesting.
I'm sorry, sir, but all the numbers you gave me are no longer in service. Operator, there must be some mistake. I'm afraid not. Service was discontinued at the request of Dr. Charles Xavier.
He canceled the line.
Did they usually call him Dr. Charles Xavier? I believe he has a doctorate, but don't they usually call him Professor Charles Xavier? I guess. Anyway, That's insane, Scott says. Banshee, Professor X has shut down all the phones, the school phones, even the emergency direct lines at Cerebro. We've got to get back there.
Fine by me, but Colleen's looking for you. Says it's important.
Does he always have a way to say the word fine? Isn't it like in
Fine.
every... You were able to add that into every single episode of this show. Fine by me.
Fine.
Little
What hap-
interlude. Those guys outside are opening up a truck.
Truck opening. Meanwhile, a truck is being opened. And then
Yes.
also this is happening.
And then there's this strange, usage of the guy's first name. Greg, old buddy. These babies can pulverize any mutant scum, living without even working up a decent sweat.
Greg, old buddy, when I asked you to be my best man at my wedding, I thought to myself, Jim, he's not going to say yes. But you did, and you showed up. And when you dragged me from that river, Greg, old buddy, guys.
It seems just such a trivial thing to give this guy a name, Greg, old buddy.
Greg.
Anyway, and then we get this great thing that when I was reading it in Classic X-Men, issue 24, I thought it was rewritten because the lettering didn't seem to match. And I was thinking to myself that this had been infused into the updated version.
Right.
But yeah, Wolverine's thinking. Actually, I'm looking now. It looks like there is an extra line. I was a punk kid last time I was in Japan. Didn't figure I'd ever come on ever coming back. Here it says I was a punk kid. First time I was in Japan. And the last time I left, I didn't figure on ever coming back.
Okay.
Why bother? What an odd addition in the Classic X-Men.
It's important.
And then Wolverine continues to think, man, I should have stayed in the Savage Land. I got no use for civilization. Too many rules. Too many flaming people saying no. Really? Okay. I want to cut loose every time I fight, but I got to hold back. Uh-oh. Someone's in the garden. I better... Whoa.
I better.
And then we get a drawing of the introduction of Morico, which is
Right.
Mariko, which is very significant for me because when I first read Wolverine, it was the limited series.
Right.
And so she's one of the oldest characters I knew in his world. And for them to meet is awesome. So he surprises her in the garden. She's sitting there, and we get a little scene where they're talking. And he speaks to her in Japanese and says, "Don't be frightened, please. I mean you no harm. Easy, fella. Don't spook her."
He'll be frightened, frail.
He's thinking the same about her as when he's hunting that deer in issue 109. And it don't easy, fella. Oh, big boy. Greg, old buddy, take it easy. Don't spook the baby.
Think of something not sexy. Think of something not sexy.
Unsexy thoughts.
Unsexy thoughts. Stupid sexy Flanders.
Stupid sexy Flanders, yes. So he comments about the garden being, nice, and he thought it would be empty, and he wants the solitude. And she plays weak. Oh no, please stay. The fault is mine. I'm only a girl. I haven't the courage of my samurai cousin Shiro. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
You speak Japanese very well for an American. And then I'm like, okay, here we good. I'm loving. I had good teachers. I'm not American, though I'm Canadian. I'm one of the X-Men. And then this is BS. Shiro has spoken often of you with much respect. Sure he has. I am Morico. I'm called Wolverine. Lord, she's beautiful. Is that a name? No, not really. Not between friends. My name is Lo, and then the attack happens. Of course, we already knew he was Logan, right? In issue, 103? One of those Cockrum ones where he reveals his first name.
He also was just pining for Jean last issue. And now he's like, she's so beautiful.
Easy there, Chris.
Easy there, fella.
Chris, old buddy, easy. I know that Mariko is striking, but you got to take it easy, buddy.
It's an earthquake.
But there's a big difference between love and meeting a lady in a garden.
Oh, crap.
So suddenly there's an earthquake, and they have to run.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's where we do get a difference, and I'm going to share. And you can
Okay.
see, I'm going to set this up for a sec. You can see the, in yours, hold on, Morico. I'll get you out of here. And as they run, he pops his claws and smashes the tree. No problem. He shields Morico with his body, and Wolverine bulls his way through the crumbling manor house. As the X-Men,
Right.
you can see them all using powers. At least Shiro is. Banshee is flying some guy. Colossus, he's got somebody. And that's good. Okay, they're all there. Duck, Colleen. So in the issue that I've got, it's a little different in that we see this clearly added on right here. You see it's like just...
The claws are adamantium.
Yeah. The strongest metal known to man. Part of what makes Wolverine so dangerous. And then it continues. There's nothing they can't cut through. His bones are laced with the same metal, so they can't be broken. Finally, there's his mutant power, a healing factor that can cope with any injury to him. Right? That's all. Just the narration that is consistent with what we would get from Claremont a decade later, like in the late 80s. Every time Wolverine has an appearance, they're going to explain to you how his powers work, or this idea that, again, it's someone's first time reading Wolverine, so they would explain that. But we haven't established, or sorry, that has not been established yet, that his bones are covered in the same metal as his claws, that they're unbreakable, and that he has a healing factor. We know he heals fast, but it has not been established that his mutant power is that he regenerates. So, moving on.
We're introduced to a new robot villain costume.
Yeah, an armored suit.
Armored suit.
Called the Mandroids.
And I don't know about you, but that first image looks like that Mandroid might have rickets.
I thought they were a good Simpsons reference.
Gonna tear down that sun.
Oh my god.
Nazi rickets. Yep. Yeah, it looks a little bow-legged there.
Yeah, so they've been hired by some boss.
Yeah. The boss wants you government types. Is as a special guest, the boss.
Yeah, and it says that they were last seen in the Avengers. That was a long time, a while ago. And Shiro shoots his mouth off, and he pays for it. So that's kind of like the inspiration for the cover is Sunfire getting hit by the Mandroid armor. But boy, oh boy, the X-Men, like after being battle hardened over the last year, like they really wait a long time to defend or, respond to the appearance of, is it 3?
It's 3
men in battle armor who have just attacked them. Like they just wait.
One who's named Greg.
Old buddy. So Cyclops fills them in. I think this is actually a really strong panel. It's like a fun one where...
Yeah, the pointing.
You don't usually see John Byrne be so dramatic with his foreshortening in a Kirby-esque way where a hand is like coming right at you and dramatically. This is just a good side of the bus ad almost. Like it's a good piece of pop art, I think. Nothing extraordinary about it, but it's just classic superhero team. Go get them team, like that kind of thing. I like that one a lot.
Hit him with everything you got.
Too bad it wasn't inked better.
If only it was.
And then another example here, okay, as you change, like look at the Mandroid armor, that blast. Again, there's that high contrast.
Yeah.
Where you really get a sense of the light and the heat and power from it. So yeah, that doing the high contrast thing really does work. Totally. All right. Oh, how good is that?
That's pretty good.
That's Mike Zack.
Mike Zack.
Awesome. Double lighting and so good. I think he's doing some serious photo reference on that. Anyway, Nightcrawler moving quick. I always love when Byrne would do those, use the DeLuca effect and have multiple images faded of Nightcrawler as he moves through at a very high speed. This would have been a great time for that, but it's okay. That's cool. He's moving quick. And the Mandroid armor dude, who might be Gregory, even comments that it's too fast for him to hit. And Nightcrawler eludes two dudes shooting by teleporting away.
That's pretty sweet, actually.
Good move. And then Colossus gets in there, and unfortunately, he takes a good smack and goes flying.
But this is a fun bit of Wolverine interaction where he uses his claws to rip right through that helmet.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Yeah.
I always have trouble with battle armor and comic book design, like character design in comics, because they don't ever seem to account for where the body is inside of the suit. So the guy's head would be separated from his body to fit in the proportions of that suit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
His arms would maybe be able to reach the shoulders, but they wouldn't even be able to go down. Anyway, it's all silliness. Yeah, Wolverine, just take the guy's head off. Go.
Yeah.
Tear through him.
And then Cyclops gets to kind of pulse his beams out.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I like doing that too. But now that I'm older, it kind of hurts.
Pulse your beams.
And then there's some pseudoscience here where
squeeze the plums.
If he can pulse at the right pattern, and Banshee uses his sonic scream at the right frequency, it's somehow gonna make that suit of armor just self-destruct. It will shake itself to bits. Yeah, really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then Morico shows her bravery as she goes to try and protect Shiro. And she's referred to as a kid here. So, like, it makes you think she's really young.
Yeah, like 16, which makes the Wolverine conversation even creepier.
Easy there, Chris.
Easy there, Frail. Easy there.
And Sunfire, to protect his cousin, unleashes some serious power. But then it didn't do anything. It made the armor even... Oh, sorry, I was too fast.
Oh.
It made the armor even stronger when you fired it. You got to flip the page. It's coming.
No. That's a crazy face, though.
It is. It's good.
It's good.
And then Storm does some freezing rain, and it cracks the armor right away.
Yeah, it's great.
That must be some real freezing. I've been in freezing rain. Have you ever? Well, you're Canadian, too.
I also like how she can localize her freezing rain.
Yeah. And it's so sudden. I mean, how cold does it have to be to shatter armor?
Pretty cold.
I've been in some cold weather. I don't know, man.
And your armor is never shattered, so...
Well, not that I want to admit. So the suits are all destroyed. They better run for it, Jake.
Run for it, Jake. Sure thing, Greg, old buddy.
Watch it, Jake. Pothole. And these two hands. I actually love that panel.
That's a great panel. That's like a Night of the Living Dead homage panel.
You know what it looks like to me?
What?
It's John Romita Jr.
Oh, okay.
I feel like he drew that. I feel like he's done that before where, Colossus is coming out of some rubble and is going to grab onto that. But again, the high contrast is what does it. You get the bright lights. You get lots of black on the artwork on Colossus's arms. And it lets you know that there's that depth, and we're on one side of it and Truck's on the other. And he brings that thing to a screeching halt by ripping its bottom off. Speaking of ripping someone's bottom off, Greg, old buddy.
Greg, old buddy. Oh, Jake, old buddy. We're real in it this time, Greg, old buddy. I love you, man. I love you.
I love, Colossus comes walking with some guys under each arm, squirming or unconscious. I can't tell, but I'm going to say that they're squirming.
This one refers to himself as Jake, and the other one says his name's Greg, old buddy.
You did all right, people. And Morico is taking care of Shiro.
Yeah.
Sunfire. And then, hope for the X-Men, perhaps. Hope for Japan, none. What? A hologram emanating from that Mandroid armor. Dude, then draw it like a hologram or color it like a hologram.
Right, like phasey.
Something. I am Moses Magnum, master of the Magnum Force. I'm uncomfortable. This is my Magnum ultimatum, Prime Minister.
The Magnum Force. I only ever do anything in Magnum.
You have 36 hours. By that I mean you have 24 hours to acclaim me sole absolute ruler of your precious island nation. Or tomorrow, or at midnight tomorrow, I will sink Japan.
And then the best part of this whole thing is then it's next time. It was the night before Christmas. Like, what?
Oh, insane.
It is insane. And this, I don't know. Okay, so two questions of X-Men, of X-Men-ness. Does Moses Magnum ever come back as a villain beyond this arc? Doesn't sound like he does, but
I don't think so. I don't think so.
No. Okay, and secondly, Morico or
in the movie, which we're going to talk about in a minute.
To me, it's Morico, but
they pronounce it Mariko.
Okay, Mariko. Okay,
but as a kid, Morico is how I said it.
Now, on her, she is is Wolverine's like love interest? Is she Lady Deathstrike? Am I wrong?
Great question. So I'm going to switch the view here for a moment.
Okay.
Hello, how are you? There are a few questions and a few characters. So Mariko Yoshida is daughter of Shingen Yoshida, who is a crime lord in Japan, and that's the Wolverine Limited series.
Right. The Frank Miller.
Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, yeah.
Okay.
With Joseph Rubinstein on inks.
Right.
The femme fatale in that series is called Yukio.
Okay.
And she is a member of, she's, I guess, an assassin, an agent basically of Shingen, who also becomes a lover of Wolverine when he's rejected by Mariko. And I don't think she plays or at least I don't know of her playing a role after that series is done. But again, her name is Yukio. Yuriko is Lady Deathstrike.
Sorry, yeah.
No, don't apologize. And Yuriko is the daughter of the scientist who invents the technique of melding, of using adamantium. So 10 years later, in Alpha Flight, after Byrne leaves, Yuriko goes to get Wolverine's skeleton to reclaim her family's honor, because him having her father's technique not by permission is an insult to her family's honor. So again, these are all different writers who are building. But I guess this all leads back to, and then after that she gets beaten, and as a way to upgrade so she can finally kill Wolverine, she makes basically a deal with the devil. In this case, Mojo. She goes to something from like the Mojoverse. There's a character named Spiral.
Yes.
And goes to Spiral's body shop and gets upgraded and becomes Lady Deathstrike.
With her hands.
Who also then appears in a movie.
Yes.
But that appearance in X2 is a mutant version of the character as opposed to this altered human or modified human version. But this all comes back to this beginning. So this idea of the connection between Wolverine and Japan is as fundamental, I'm going to argue for fun, as Wolverine's connection to Canada. It's as important to the version of Wolverine that we know today, and the stories that happen there and how it informs the character. The Wolverine that we get to know in 2022, that we would see in action figure form, in movie form, in cartoon form, is as profoundly shaped by his relationship with Japan as he is with his relationship with Canada. They're like both huge parts of that character. to the point where you get a version of the character you can buy where he's wearing plaid and blue jeans and comes with a samurai sword.
Right.
Like they're both huge parts of that character, and all of it starts in this issue. Like it's really crazy that that they invent this character and have him in the comic book for a few years without having his relationship to Japan as part of the character.
Right. So I guess at some point they will leave Japan soon. Well, it's maybe it doesn't matter. They leave Japan soon, and then aside from these references, these little hints, bits of information that Wolverine has had a past in Japan, is it not fully fleshed out into the miniseries?
Okay, just quick thing. Trevor's reminding us that also Morico, Lady Deathstrike, is the half sister of the Silver Samurai.
Ooh, that must be fun at their family get-togethers.
Yeah, they. I don't think they're on good terms.
No. Also, can she have normal sized hands ever again?
Well, I think if she goes through another procedure.
Okay, but how does she do things like pick up a cup?
Don't do that. As Edward Scissorhands, don't do that. I don't think it helps to think about these kinds of things, right? I mean, Shang-Chi has that villain with the blades for hands.
Yeah.
Like, he can't even go to the bathroom.
Right.
Well, he can go, he just can't take care of what.
And that even makes him even more evil, because they're like, he stinks.
So, what was your question?
Oh, the connection between the Wolverine's Japanese past.
Does it start in the miniseries? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's the first time that it gets delved into.
Okay.
In a meaningful way. But it actually doesn't go into the past. Have you never read his miniseries?
No.
It's straight up crime noir.
Yes.
Just Wolverine goes on a case. It just has a personal side to it. And it's classic. It feels more Frank Miller than it does Chris Claremont in its story structure and the themes. But of course the verbiage is Claremont.
Sure.
And a lot of the voicing, But basically he, after meeting Morico, I think they're going to have a connection of some kind. Mm-hmm. It's ambiguous. But so much so that when Wolverine is no longer in Japan, he's going to stay in touch with Morico. And at some point, just to go talk the Wolverine miniseries, she stops responding to his letters and phone calls, and he's not okay with it. He knows something is wrong. So he goes to Japan, and when he's on his way there, he's basically intercepted, and the Secret Service comes. He has a friend from his days as a spy. So we're to learn that Wolverine was a secret agent of some kind before he was an X-Man. Now, we knew him as a costume superhero in his first appearance in the Hulk, and then when Xavier goes to recruit him. But I think before he's wearing a costume, he's just sort of secret agenty for Canada.
Yeah.
Has some dealings with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Carol Danvers and other characters and Fury and that kind of stuff. Has some official dealings with those from a Canadian Interpol S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of point of view. And he has a contact in Japan, and the contact says, just don't even, you're here because, Mariko Yoshida, don't go. It's not a safe thing for you to go to. She's off limits. It's just going to lead to problems for you. Don't even go near this. And he's like, I'm not listening to you. You know me. I'm going to go ahead first into this. And he goes, and she tries to ward him away when he gets there, and he doesn't get any answers as to why she won't respond. And this is so Ed Brubaker, it's right out of a Reckless book or any of those kind of series. And she has, a good black eye, and she's been beaten. And he's like, what's going on? She's like, you shame me by even being here. You can't be here. This is my family business. You can't come into this. He discovers that basically she's engaged to marry, and it's been arranged. It's not her, she has no say in this, and it's to fulfill her obligation. It's her honor. So he butts his nose in, meets her dad. Her dad is like, you dishonor us by being here. You're pathetic. You wouldn't understand anything Japanese in terms of culturally, and you don't get honor. Mm-hmm. You're a disgrace. And the father provokes Wolverine into a fight. just to show that Wolverine has no decorum, no respect for Japanese tradition and the ways of doing things. And he goads Wolverine into shaming himself very quickly. And then Wolverine, in the process, he gets beaten up, and he is poisoned and left for dead in an alley, kind of thing. And when he realizes that he's lost any chance of ever seeing Mariko again because he's ruined himself in her eyes, he's hurt her in some way, he hits the bottle and bottoms out and meets a femme fatale, and they go on some tangent together that weaves everything back into it's all kind of connected. And she's playing him, Mariko's father's playing him, and all he wants to do is somehow find a way to protect and take care of Mariko and kind of redeem himself, and and find some peace within himself, and kill a lot of people. And ninjas show up, and it's like all the elements are there for like Frank Miller's Daredevil, but it's in Japan. It's kind of perfect in a lot of ways. The art is maybe the biggest weak spot because it's not Klaus Janson inking Miller. It's not Miller inking Miller. It's Joe Rubenstein, who's like very house style, no innovation, rounded edges. And it like if that series could get redrawn or just re-inked, it would like just update it a little bit and recolor. It would be the most quintessential perfect noir Wolverine story.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. And then so a lot of the heart of that story is taken for the Wolverine, the second Wolverine solo movie.
Yes.
Where he goes to Japan. He goes for different reasons. While he's there, he experiences different things. Mariko is in a different position. There's still that dynamic with her and her father. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
There's the honor stuff and their connection and him wanting to protect her. But there are elements taken from the 4-part miniseries, but it definitely is not that story.
Right.
Just there's elements, and that is for me. It's like that's my quintessential Wolverine run in the comics, and I really loved about 3/4 of that movie. I loved a lot of it. I loved just him being in Japan and his powers not doing right, and he's not sure who he can trust, and there's Yakuza,
and he's cut.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's incredible looking. Sure.
Once he, kind of gets his powers back on, then it's like pretty.
And in that movie, there's no sense he was in Japan before,
right?
Except for during the war. That's how they framed that one.
That's right.
His experience in Japan is a war-based one, where he's there for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He's there when the bombs hit.
Yeah.
And he survives that experience, as he would in the movies. In the comic book, they dance around for a long time as to when he was in Japan. He's there repeatedly over different parts of his life. I think he's in the Wolverine Grand Design. If I try and weed out a lot of the junk, I imagine he's there internationally, like in his capacity as spy or secret agent, government agent, and he also is there traveling during his time in World War II, whether he is in service or just looking for trouble. We know he goes to Madripoor. He spends a bit of time there in World War II as well. So I kind of imagine it's in the similar, he's not flying from place to place. He's boating from place to place back then. So he would be in Japan for a stretch. And then did you ever read Wolverine Origin, which is like from the very beginning up until...
No.
So it's like Canada, British Columbia, I think, in the 1850s-ish. And it's him as, child of an aristocrat and what causes him to lose contact with his ancestry and have to change his name and like go out into the wild, and him and a woman named Rose or a girl named Rose, and they're just trying to survive, running, on the run from his past, and his mutation kind of starts to kick in, and he has some memory issues. He's some PTSD stuff from killing his mother, and he works in a mine for a while, and eventually he gets on a boat and goes to Japan in like probably 1860s or 70s. If you ever watch The Last Samurai, in my head, in like a really loose way, that's a Wolverine movie.
Okay.
Where, Civil War vet who just doesn't die,
right,
drinks himself to death almost, and gets brought to Japan in a roundabout way and finds peace through learning from the last samurai how to live and how to die, but of course doesn't get to die at the end. Just gets to bear witness to the end of the samurai.
Right.
And Tom Cruise as Wolverine in 1865 or 1875, like, I'm okay with that. It works. So if you watch it as a Wolverine origin piece, it kind of works.
Okay.
And he's short, so it's good.
He's little.
He is.
He's little.
He is. It totally works for me.
I did like the end of the Wolverine, where I think it was like the mid-credit scene or something, where she gives him, or maybe it's an alternate ending. Maybe, I can't remember. But
yes,
she gives him the box, and he opens the box, and kind of like, well, if you want to do other things, there's other stuff you can get up to. And it's the brown and it's that brown and goldish uniform.
The helmet,
the helmet and the gloves. Yeah.
How do you make sense of the helmet as like a thing in a movie that's a little more grounded in reality? Like, why is he wearing a mask or a helmet?
Is it kind of I don't know, like almost like a masked, like ninja type thing?
Well, a ninja would be wearing it to hide.
Yeah.
To hide their face in the shadow and to hide their identity if they needed to. But he doesn't have an identity issue, right?
Right.
Like, he's loose with he's loose with his
Maybe
identity.
he just likes masks and role play. Okay,
that's another thing altogether. So I have a hard time getting around the Wolverine mask, and when I try and make it have sort of like any kind of grounding, I don't know what to do with it. I would love it if there was a stronger Japanese look to it, where it was maybe that that he earns that mask in some capacity,
right?
Or he hopes to earn it. Like it's something that he's striving toward, to be this thing. That it is some sort of a samurai design, and he longs for it. And that's really the piece from the Wolverine Limited series, is that he is a failed samurai, in that he can never achieve honor through the samurai code that he loves and he aspires to. He's never able to, because of his nature. So, and he can't even achieve honor through killing himself, through ritual suicide. So it's a cycle of shame and unable to self-actualize, which tortures him, which I think is like really complex. And as a kid, I gravitated toward it in a huge way. So do you remember like the amount of Japanese inclusion? No, inclusion is the wrong word. I would say infusion or appropriation is the word. The amount of Japanese appropriation into kind of pop culture, but not the mainstream pop culture. Like, for instance, I was saying to you in a text just before we started about Japan being a transformative place in the 1980s for characters. So, for instance, Batman on his journey has significant experiences in Japan and with things Japanese that help inform the version of Batman that he becomes, that is the greatest crime fighter in the history of the world. Learning ninja technique, as well as samurai kind of code. The character Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe has a transformative experience through...
I mean, I think there's probably definitely, there is, certainly the relationship between those, let's call them American creations from the medium of comic books and like Japan, like the historic relationship between Japan and America, right, is obviously a strong one for a number of reasons. And so I think probably Japan, I would argue, is probably on the radar as a country, like on the American radar, as something that they actively are involved with, right? There's bases there. There's like a whole bunch of stuff that like there's politically stuff there.
Right.
There's interaction there. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe it has to do, I mean, then you can get into like that kind of Western fascination with like Eastern mysticism, right? Yeah. Like, and I'm sure Japan probably provided a really great, an easy ground for that. So then these characters, like, well, we have to go and learn things that we can't learn here. Well, and it's older, and you gotta go somewhere where there's this element that we don't know, therefore it's mystical because we don't understand it or whatever. And so, Snake Eyes, Batman, Wolverine.
It's like my 3 favorite characters.
It's one character.
Good point. Good point. The other thing that I'm thinking is Japanese cinema.
Yeah.
And manga. So given that, comparing it, let's just say China in the 20th century, one is like closed for export and one is open. And Japanese cinema, particularly the samurai films and television shows, are so rich and reach American shores through, mostly like San Francisco and LA and New York. They're the big ports.
Sure.
And people in the creative world were getting inspiration from Japanese cowboy Western, but samurai culture. So guys like George Lucas are watching Akira Kurosawa.
Mm-hmm.
And so books are getting through, like I said, manga and film and television. And I'm thinking like a lot of the creators that I like were influenced by those exports. And then there's a huge craze in the 80s after the Kung Fu thing from the 70s and Bruce Lee. In the 80s, it's shifts a little further, and it gets to be like the amount of B movies that came out in the 80s, direct to video, that were around ninja. In the title, it was insane.
Dude, American Ninja was like, there's like 4 of those movies or 3 of those movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the Choose Your Own Adventure books, I always get like they had ninja, and like there was a ninja in everything. And then it got to the point where you could put a bunch of words together, and if you put the word ninja in it, you were going to get a cartoon, because you get this underground comic book, which did really well, and it was obviously a mix of a few things, but like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could not have happened 10 years earlier.
Yeah,
and it was sort of to me like it's so indicative of the decade that it was a part of. It didn't inform the decade. It informed the decade after, but it was so much the product of that time period that, it made total sense by 1988 or whatever year, or 89, where that cartoon comes out, like, or 87, whatever year it was. Like, it didn't seem weird or groundbreaking to a 13-year-old. It seemed like an obvious, like, ninja are everywhere. I've been interested in ninja for 4 years, so come on, kids. Obviously, this is a cool thing. But it was just huge in the 1980s.
Yeah,
in everything I was involved in, there ninja and things Japanese were present.
Yeah,
there you go. And Wolverine was just a huge part of that, in my mind at least. Anyway, yeah. Huge.
As Jason says, samurai pizza cats.
What are samurai pizza cats?
I'm
joking. It's self-explanatory. Yeah, Hello Kitty. I mean, think about. I remember even.
Think of Robotech.
Yeah,
like that whole piece. We haven't even gotten to that.
We haven't even talked about animation in the cartoon.
That piece, right, is massive.
Yeah, it was enormous, even into the mid 70s.
I was thinking about Robotech today. Like, specifically Robotech. I was walking down the street after dropping my kids to school, be like, man, the episode was so cool. I don't know who I'm talking to, like myself.
Yes.
Right?
You're
It's like
Chris,
they
old
ride
buddy.
the bike, and the bike becomes their suit. Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
This is when I find the end of it. I think the third season. Anyway, this is the third series, but like, I don't know, just that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, it was very pervasive in
Yeah.
kid culture, and I don't want to say subculture, but like, how do you describe B movie culture and comics? They're not pop. They're like, and they're not subversive. So I don't want to call them subculture,
Right.
but they're not quite underground either because it's all through traditional channels.
And they're certainly not low culture.
It's just like a niche kind of, or I don't know, but it was just there. It was very, very present, even from a suburban Torontonian.
Right. And
kid like me,
and it continues. That's the thing is it continues because then so now these things we're mentioning, Power Rangers.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
then we can get into all these other things, right? But there has
was
always
like,
been a steady stream of content.
Yeah.
In our lifetime.
Yeah.
For sure.
Huge.
Yeah.
And I think when we do finally get Wolverine back in the movies, or if we get a Netflix show as an introduction, I'm certain the Japan connection will be there on some level, whether we see it in his formative years or it's somewhere that they venture toward at some point for a high point in his series or in his personal development. It'll definitely be part of it. It's just like I said, I think it's as profound for him, or even more so, in who the character is than it mattered than the whole Canadian piece.
Yeah.
The Canadian piece is so superficial. It's like, okay, he's born here and he's a forest animal, but there isn't really, he's not. Canada doesn't transform him, except for the fact he loves being outdoors. But again,
yeah, I know it's just Canadian. More of a I agree with you. With you. Because they had to choose Wolverine because Honey Badger was taken,
right. You're so silly. But there is a character named Honey Badger now.
Is there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, look it up.
Okay.
And are they related?
I hope so.
Look it up.
The Honey Badger.
So, next issue.
Yes.
Next issue is going to be the conclusion of the...
Well, it's the night before Christmas.
Night before Christmas, yes. And the conclusion of the... what's that guy's name? Magnus.
His name is Moses Magnum. Master of Magnum. Moses Magnum. Master of the Magnum Force.
Yeah. So
he is Magnum 24/7. All things.
It will conclude that story. Good news. Terry Austin is back. We're going to see Misty Knight even again, so I will be happy about that. And I don't want to spoil what else is coming. Dave Cockrum on the new cover. Oh, I was going to just show you really quickly.
Yes.
This.
Oh, okay. Is this the backup story?
Yeah. It's Gene in Greece.
Moose dude. Come to me, Moose dude.
Yeah, and then we get where she gets thrown into the water and gets robbed.
Oh, wow.
So then now they're like, why they inserted this earlier in the issue, I don't know. And she meets that dude with the big forehead. But here he's kind of
you mean the heartthrob?
Well, yeah. Well, this artist, John Bolton, does a nice job. But Claremont really loves these little short stories, but that are much more in depth, that are like everyday life events where,
sure,
eventually ends up in someone's bed. And that's how it goes every time. It turns out, of course, that dude is secretly Jason Windegaard.
Ooh.
Who is playing both angles to maneuver to understand.
The heartthrob is also that old man.
Yeah, and of course we get a scene where she's in bed and not dressed.
Right, because Claremont,
and she goes and have fun and romancing and isn't Scott dead? No, I can't. Scott just died. I don't care.
I don't care, baby.
I'm mastermind. You need to live.
We need to eat some sakanaki.
Anyway, they go dancing. It's all this stuff. Wow. And eventually, she shows that she's Phoenix, and he's like, "Oh, I got her. She will be my Black Queen." So it's all just leading up to the Dark Phoenix saga,
Right.
bit by bit. And of course,
The
that
S&M
has to
Jean
be-
Grey on the background. Yeah.
well, this is the mastermind controlling her, and even though that's not even in the issue, that's gonna be a desirable image from someone's point of view for
Totally.
12-year-old boys, which it was.
There you go.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise. Claremont went that direction.
Yes. And that, my friends, is another episode of Previously in X-Men. Right? There you go. Issue 118 in the can.
Episode 27. Dunzo.
And issue 24 of Classic X-Men. You can check us out at Group of 7 Comics. .ca. No, at Group of 7 Comics and social
At Group
media.
7 Comics.
The number
Number
being
7 on the
7.
socials. The easiest.
Yep. And info at Group of 7 Comics.ca.
Yeah.
Want to reach us through email, whatever.
And if you're in the Guelph area, hey, we're going to be at the Dragon Guelph on Saturday for Free Comic Book Day.
Downtown.
And if you're in the Montreal area later the month, we're in Montreal for the Montreal Comic Arts Festival. The 26th to the 29th, 30th, 27th to 29th.
I
We'll
got
be there.
pages of the free comic book that we are giving away with purchase and to good children. If you're a good kid,
But only the good children.
or you buy something while supplies last, we'll be giving away a special free comic book day version or a free comic book day edition of Peregrine's Londinium on Saturday. Free comic book day at the Dragon. So
Yeah.
that's pretty special. I'm working on figuring out some ink levels for this mini comic.
Very cool.
Sometimes, yeah, I'll tell you more about it when we're off. There you go. All right. Peace out. Go Leafs, go.
Go, let's go. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Trevor. Have a great night. Everyone out there, have a great night.
Cheers.
And Jason, don't send those PDFs to Trevor.
I don't have any PDFs.